My parents kicked Grandma out the day Grandpa died. I made them regret it. They didn't even wait 24 hours. Grandpa's ashes hadn't cooled, and my mother was already boxing up Grandma's life. "Grieve somewhere else," she snapped. "This house isn't yours." Dad didn't say a word. He just smiled and changed the locks. I flew home the moment I heard. Grandma was sitting on the porch, shivering, one suitcase beside her. No coat, no key, no dignity left. That was the moment I vowed to burn everything they cared about. Not with fire, with silence, with precision, with a law. I'm a 28-year-old architect. I've been living in Seattle for a year, designing buildings while the one person who raised me was being erased. Because it wasn't my parents who raised me. They were too busy throwing wine parties and chasing promotions. It was Grandma and Grandpa, who loved me, fed me, saw me. Their house smelled like cinnamon, garden soil, and safety. Now it was cold, sterile, and filled with smugness. Inside, all the photos of my childhood were gone, replaced with magazine-worthy portraits of my parents. No trace of the two people who built that home. I confronted them. I didn't hold back. "You kicked her out after 50 years. "She's not on the deed," Dad said, polishing his watch. "It's ours now. She'll manage." I looked at my mother. Her wine glass was half full. So was her heart. "She's an old woman," I hissed. "She should have planned better." She shrugged. I took Grandma to a hotel that night. She sobbed quietly as I wrapped her in a blanket and I started digging. First, the archives. The house built in 1972. The original deed joint ownership. Both their names. But something had changed. In Grandpa's final year, weak and ill, he'd signed a new will. "Everything now belongs to my parents." But I remembered Grandpa's words once in the garden. "Whatever happens, I made sure Grandma will be safe." That line haunted me. So I searched harder and I found it. A second deed hidden in a locked box. Grandma's name still on it. Never revoked, and a trust worth nearly $2 million activated upon Grandpa's dad. But there was more. A letter handwritten. Grandpa warned his attorney he feared manipulation from his own son. He left orders. Protect Evelyn no matter what paperwork appears later. Armed with that, I moved in silence. I bought the house back quietly, drew the trust. Within 3 weeks, it legally belonged to Grandma again. They didn't suspect a thing, so I invited them over for dinner. They waltzed in like royalty, critiqued the curtains, talked granite countertops. Then I slid an envelope across the table. Dad opened it. His eyes widened. "Eviction," he said. I nodded. "You have 48 hours, they laughed, until I pulled out the deed. The trust. Grandpa's letter. "If you resist," I said softly, "we'll sue for elder abuse and fraud." They lost. The court not only returned everything, but charged them $500,000 in damages. Their accounts were frozen. Their friends vanished. They became ghosts. Weeks later, they returned, kneeling at the porch, begging for forgiveness. Grandma looked at them calm. "I have nothing more to say," she whispered. "May God forgive you. I'm not sure I can." We restored the house. The garden bloomed again. Sunday dinners returned. Laughter returned. From Grandma. She created a scholarship in Grandpa's name for underprivileged kids in the neighborhood, because despite everything, her heart never hardened. Every Sunday dinner was a tribute to the love and kindness that once built that home. I watched Grandma smile again, not just with her lips, but with her whole soul. The cinnamon scent returned to the kitchen, blending with the bloom of roses in the garden that she nurtured back to life. The house was no longer a cold monument to greed. It had become a sanctuary of healing and remembrance. But the battle wasn't just legal. It was deeply personal. My parents had tried to erase her, erase them both, like they were unwanted. Ghosts. But all they had done was awaken something fierce in me that I hadn't realized was dormant for years. I remembered the nights Grandma sat with me on her lap, knitting scarves that always smelled like lavender and old books. The stories Grandpa told in his calm voice about building the house with his own hands, about planting the first tree that still stood in the yard like a silent guardian. And now I had restored that home back to them. I invited Grandma to move back in while I supervised every renovation, ensuring everything reflected her and Grandpa's legacy, not my parents' cold aesthetic. I put up the old photographs in their original places, faded family portraits, candid shots of summer barbecues, holidays, the small moments of real life. Each frame was a thread in the tapestry of our family's history. My parents, they had become shadows. Losing the house and the trust wasn't just a financial hit. It shattered their reputation. The lawsuits, the frozen accounts, the whispered scandals at their country club and professional circles all made them ghosts in every sense. Yet what struck me deepest was their final descent from pride to desperation. Weeks later, they returned, not as the entitled homeowners they once were, but knelt on my grandparents' porch, begging for forgiveness. I stood beside Grandma as they trembled, pleading for mercy. But Grandma, serene as ever, met their eyes and whispered, "I have nothing more to say. May God forgive you. I'm not sure I can." That moment was the final reclaiming of power, not through anger, but through grace. Since then, the house has been a beacon. The garden blooms in riotous color, tended by Grandma's steady hands. Our kitchen once again fills with laughter and the smell of Grandma's cinnamon rolls that even my parents used to love. If only they'd remembered that was how love was shown. Every week, the neighborhood kids gather to hear stories from Grandma and to benefit from the scholarship named after Grandpa. It's a living legacy, one no legal document could ever truly capture. For me, the fight reminded me that family isn't just about blood or wealth. It's about respect, honor, and standing for those who gave everything for us, especially when others try to erase them. My parents lost the house, their easy lives, and our respect. But in losing those things, they revealed the stark truth. What matters can't be taken by keys, contracts, or lawsuits. It's in the moments we give and the love we keep alive. And that's the life I'm building now, not just as an architect, designing structures, but as the guardian of a legacy built by love, resilience, and quiet strength. Story. After my third deployment, my wife filed for divorce. "I've met someone better," she said. In court, she demanded the house in full custody. "He's never even home for the kids." I stayed silent until the judge asked if I had anything to add. I placed a single paper on his desk. His eyes widened. "No one moves." Immediately closed the doors. My wife's lawyer dropped all papers as military police entered the courtroom. Chapter 1. Homecoming. I came back from my third deployment with a duffel bag slung over my shoulder and a heart that hadn't beat calmly in years. Afghanistan had taken friends. It had taken sleep. But I thought foolishly that my wife, Lauren, and our 2 kids were the one thing war couldn't take from me. The house was dark when I arrived. No welcome home banner like last time. No tiny feet running toward me. No Lauren waiting at the door with open arms. Just silence until I saw the envelope on the kitchen counter. "I've met someone better," she'd written. "Someone who's actually here. I filed for divorce. You'll be hearing from my lawyer. No name, no warmth, no regard for the sacrifices I'd made. Just cold ink on expensive paper." Chapter 2. The custody strike weeks passed. My lawyer, a quiet man named Alvarez, urged me to stay calm. "They're trying to provoke you," he said. "She's painting you as unstable, emotionally unfit, absent. Don't give her what she wants." I learned that her new boyfriend, a civilian contractor, named Brent, had moved into my home within days of my departure. She told the court, "He's never home for the kids. He can't provide stability. I want the house, full custody, everything." I sat silently at every hearing. No outbursts, no speeches, just a quiet rage building beneath a disciplined exterior, honed by combat. Lauren smirked every time we crossed paths in court. She thought my silence was surrender, but it was strategy. Chapter 3. The paper that spoke louder than words. Court was packed that day. Lauren sat confidently in her polished suit, her boyfriend Brent in the gallery, smirking like he already owned my house, my kids, and my dignity. Her lawyer strutted in with a binder an inch thick. motions, accusations, and character assassinations. I had a folder, one page. The judge, an older man with military pins on his robe, leaned forward. "Mrs. Grant," he said. Lauren had already started using her maiden name again. "You're asking for full custody, the marital home, spousal support, and to deny visitation until psychological evaluation." Her lawyer stood smug. "Yes, Your Honor, my client believes it's in the best interest of the children. Mr. Grant's deployment history and absence." The judge raised a hand. "We've heard your motion, Mr. Grant. Do you have anything to add?" The courtroom shifted. Lauren crossed her legs and gave a condescending glance. She wasn't nervous. She didn't even look at me. I stood, walked to the bench, and placed the paper face down on the judge's desk. "Sir, I respectfully submit this classified letter under seal for your eyes only. It concerns an active investigation involving my wife, her partner, and misuse of government resources." The judge flipped it over, read the first 3 lines. His eyes widened, his mouth dropped slightly. Then he snapped to the bafe. "No one moves. Immediately close the doors. Clear the gallery except essential personnel." Chaos. Brent stood up. Lauren gasped. Her lawyer whispered something and dropped the binder on the floor. The judge turned to the bailiff again. "Call the military police. Escort Mr. Grant to the adjacent chamber under protection. This court is now under federal advisement. We are in recess until further notice." Chapter 4. Secrets Unsealed. Inside the private chamber, I waited quietly while 2 military police officers stood by the door. A few minutes later, Judge Mallory entered with his reading glasses and the document still in hand. He sat across from me, no longer just a judge, but a man trying to piece together how deeply things had gone wrong. "I need you to confirm everything. In this report," he said, steady but serious. "If even half of this is true, we're dealing with federal violations, not just a messy divorce." I nodded. "Yes, sir. I have recordings, financial logs, encrypted communication threads, all backed up and submitted to the Office of the Inspector General." Here's what the letter revealed. While I was deployed overseas, Lauren and her boyfriend Brent had been using my military credentials and defense contractor accounts to funnel money into private side gigs, bribes, fake consulting work, and kickbacks from overseas firms. The house she wanted, bought with embezzled funds in my name. Her claims of me being unfit, a cover, because she knew the net was closing in. I'd learned about it from a fellow service member stationed stateside who noticed discrepancies in procurement. Reports tied to my ID. I stayed quiet, collaborated with JA, and gathered everything I needed. Meanwhile, back in the courtroom, Lauren had gone ghost white. The judge hadn't let her leave. Her boyfriend tried to sneak out until he was quietly escorted into a side room by 2 MPs. Her lawyer packed up and left. Didn't even say goodbye. Chapter 5. When the mask shattered, Lauren was brought back into the courtroom after 3 hours in a holding room. She looked like a completely different woman, disheveled, eyes swollen, hands trembling. No trace of the icy arrogance that once made her untouchable. The courtroom was now sealed, cameras off, no press allowed. Judge Mallory turned to her as she sat across from me. No longer a proud wife trying to play power games, but a suspect. "Mrs. Grant," the judge said, voice like stone, "you are no longer petitioning for custody or property. You are under preliminary investigation for federal fraud, misappropriation of government assets, and obstruction of justice." Lauren opened her mouth to speak, but her new attorney, a court-appointed public defender, placed a hand on her shoulder. "Say nothing." That was the moment she looked up at me for the first time. Really looked. Her mouth opened slightly. A flicker of regret. Guilt, maybe, but it was too late for both. Then came the testimony. My children had been shielded from all the court drama until now. But today, the judge wanted to hear from them, especially after Child Protective Services submitted reports based on interviews at school and with our neighbors. My oldest, Evan, just 10, was called in. He sat nervously in the witness seat. The judge asked softly, "Do you feel safe with your mom?" Evan shook his head. She always yelled, and she let that man, Brent, say mean things about my dad. The judge nodded. "And your father?" Evan's voice broke. He was always gone, but he called me more than she did. He sent videos, birthday gifts. He even made a bedtime recording for me. I looked down, my chest tightening. I remembered sending that video during a sandstorm in Kandahar. Evan looked at me. I want to live with Dad. The judge asked no more questions. That was all he needed to hear. Chapter 6. Final judgment, final blow. A week later, the courtroom. Filled once again, this time for the final ruling. Lauren sat beside her public defender, pale and silent. Her once expensive jewelry was gone, her carefully styled hair now tied back in a loose bun. Brent was nowhere to be seen. He'd flipped, early in exchange for a lighter sentence, handing over records that damned them both. Judge Mallory didn't waste time. After reviewing all evidence, financial records, military reports, and testimony, the court hereby grants full legal and physical custody of the children to Mr. Michael Grant. The marital home and assets are awarded to Mr. Grant as they were obtained through fraudulent means. Mrs. Grant, you are being referred for criminal prosecution at the federal level. He paused, then added, This courtroom is dismissed, but justice is not finished. Outside the courthouse, a crowd had gathered. Not for Lauren, for the press conference. You see, I hadn't just wanted legal justice, I wanted the world to know. So I invited every news outlet in the region and handed them the full declassified dossier after the trial. Corruption, embezzlement, betrayal of a decorated veteran. Headline gold. Her name trended that night, but not in the way she once dreamed. A week later, her workplace issued a formal statement of termination. Her professional license was revoked. A military spouse charity that she once spoke for released. A press release calling her actions a betrayal to all who serve. Even her parents stopped speaking to her. As for me, I moved with the kids to a peaceful suburb closer to my new unit. I started a veteran security firm and finally spent time being not just a soldier, but a father. One night, Evan asked, Dad, are you happy now? I looked at him, kissed his forehead, and said, I am now because no one gets to destroy our family and walk away clean. Epilogue. Redemption over revenge. Lauren was sentenced to 4 years in federal prison and ordered to pay restitution, though I never expected a dime. Brent relocated under witness protection, jobless, disgraced, and alone. But me? I rebuilt from the ashes with my kids, my honor, and my quiet satisfaction that the truth always finds its voice. And when it did, it roared. Was this revenge perfectly justified? Tell us what you would have done in the comments below. Like the story, share it with someone who needs this energy, and subscribe to Revenge Exposed for more jaw-dropping tales of betrayal and justice. Because here, every lie has its reckoning and every betrayal finds its shadow. Stay sharp, stay strong, and stay tuned.